Reading any Barça article makes my head hurt. Make it make sense! Let's kick off with this tweet that I saw this morning, Andy. You know what they're talking about? They're talking about the mess that Barca have got themselves into. How did they get themselves into a situation that they spend the summer signing up players, not least iconic players like Robert Lewandowski from Germany, and then we don't know as the season begins whether he'll get a game or not?
Yeah, time is ticking down until they play Rayo Vallecano at the Camp Nou this weekend. And yeah, we just simply don't know what team they're going to be able to put out because they've not been able to register the new signings as stands. And it's going right to the wire now. So that's not only Robert Lewandowski, Rafinha. There's been the revelation in the last couple of days that Andreas Christensen and Frank Kessié, for example, who they signed after having such a brilliant season for Milan as they won the Scudetto, as Nicky will tell you, that Christensen and Kessié could walk away if they were not...
For free?
Yeah, if they were not registered for the start of the season. Now, there's been no suggestion yet that they're going to do that. Their agents are a bit twitchy and talking to the club, which... I think you would understand. Now, clearly, Barcelona are juggling a lot of plates as teams doing the transfer window. The big change, really, this week has been that they've had a setback. David Cartledge has talked in recent weeks about the palancas, the economic levers that have been brought down to release new funding. Now, one of those was to sell 25% of the TV rights for the next 25 years. They were hoping to register 667 million euros on the balance sheet. The way they did it, though, is the hedge fund that were putting in the money and then created a new company. Barcelona put some of their own money in, 150 million euros of their money, and that was meant to be part of the money. So basically, they were giving their own money back to themselves. Now, La Liga have not unreasonably said, well, that's only 517 million euros because the 150 that you've put in is not new funding. And I think Joan Laporta, the president's statement was, La Liga have a different interpretation of it than us. That is one way of putting it. So not only is that not counted as new funding, which is blocking them from signing these new players because they don't have as much money as they want, it's created a 37.5 million euro tax bill. So clearly, Laporta's everything is fine, like he's a little dog in a pork pie hat, like drinking a cup of tea in a house that's on fire. It is not quite being perceived in the way that he wants it to be, at the very least. Now, losing Christensen and Kessié would be a blow. Obviously that's a leap ahead. We don't know that's going to happen yet. But then does Lewandowski get twitchy? We've already heard Andrea Rezzani, the Leeds chairman, say, "Well, we're expecting money from the Rafinha sale soon, like at the start of September." Jules Koundé turned down Chelsea so he could go to Barcelona. So I feel that never mind what they're like on the pitch, who are they actually going to have on the pitch this weekend? I think this tells us a lot already.
Yeah, I mean, I find all of this, I empathise with the person who wrote in because there's actually so many layers to it to try to process. I mean, Andy's talked about selling sort of a big chunk of the future TV rights to a hedge fund, which in and of its own, on its own, I want to sort of take and sort of scrutinise for a second because it's the next 25 years. So you're mortgaging your future for fixing this problem right now already. And that in itself sort of is a dynamic that makes me feel sort of very uneasy because is this club sort of on a path towards saving more money in the future? No, it's not. It's doing the opposite. It's building towards a more expensive
future. That's what football clubs do, Nicky.
Absolutely.
They stake the family silver on the season.
But for 25-year contracts. But I think that's different.
Yeah, and what's fascinating about this as well, so Andy hasn't even got to this yet, but there's this situation with Frankie de Jong. Now, Frankie de Jong was signed under a previous ownership, previous presidency, not previous ownership of the club. The previous president, Bartomeu, persuaded de Jong to sign a contract extension whereby basically he brought his short-term wages down and then backloaded the wages. So those are now coming onto the wage bill, which is one of the many reasons why Barcelona haven't got enough money at the moment. And so now you have a situation where Barcelona are also, as I understand it, going to De Jong and not just asking him to reduce his wages. The initial gambit was, oh, this contract you've signed doesn't look very legal to us. We probably need to fix that. So turning it into his problem, which I think is both of those actions actually in a strange way speak to the same bigger issue almost of if you run a football club in this way with these sort of regular elections, it is in the interest of the president who's there right now to find short-term solutions. Because if you find a short-term solution, then you're not there to deal with it later. It's someone else's fault, someone else's problem. And it feels like that just digs you a deeper and deeper hole. But right now, the hole feels pretty deep already.
You would have thought that they'd want to get rid of Frankie de Jong as soon as possible. And he's had offers from Manchester United. He's had
they have
offers
tried,
from
yeah, they have
They've tried, but he's still hanging. And that's part of their problem, isn't it?
Yeah, and I can understand that he doesn't want to leave without the money. I mean, he was bought into the idea of playing for Barcelona anyway. You know, there's no doubt about that, because he could have gone to Paris Saint-Germain for more money in the first place when he left Ajax in 2019. But he chose to sign for Barcelona. Now, it must be, forget the money for a minute, it must be incredibly frustrating for him, because he's gone there with a dream of being the next great Dutch player at Barcelona. And in terms of on the pitch, I think you can look at it and think, who wouldn't want to play with these players? You know, never mind the morality of them not paying their bills and going out and having a shopping spree. Like, if you look at the actual players that are on the pitch, I would be thinking, I want to play with these guys, because he's not been able.
Myself, I wouldn't want to be on the pitch.
We'll leave that bit out. I'll leave that bit out anyway. But I think you look at it and you think, okay, I've not played for the Barcelona that I've been sold in the first place. So he's had to play as a number 10. He's had to play as a number 6. He's done the Frank Lampard thing of bombing late into the penalty box and proved to be quite a good goal scorer from midfield, which I think actually when he arrives in the Premier League, that makes him great. Say if he arrives at Chelsea, he can do so many different roles that he couldn't do when he left Ajax. He's been pushed to do those roles because Barcelona are a shambles, and he's had to play a centre-back a couple of times as well. And he looked pretty accomplished there as well. We're talking about a top-class player who's going to get even better. So I think that's immensely frustrating for him. The problem all the way along, just to reiterate, is the fact that everyone in La Liga has a salary cap and is based on your incomings. Now, Barcelona can go backwards and say, well, the pandemic's negatively affected us. It's negatively affected everyone. You know, Real Madrid in recent years have not spent, have cut back. I mean, basically, they were saving up to have a pop at Mbappe, which of course didn't work, but they were able to buy Tchouameni, a player that they really needed, like quite soon after that, because they have not gone crazy on the market, because they have tightened the belt, because obviously rebuilding the stadium has been part of that as well. But Barcelona have not looked at it this way. And Laporta's way has always been speculate to accumulate, build it and they will come. Let's get superstars in, and that will create the opportunity for selling tickets and TV rights, of which I won't get all the money, sponsorships, etc., etc., etc.
He's the Kevin Costner of Spanish football then. But
it's not quite Waterworld yet. It's not far off though.
I wasn't talking of that Kevin Costner. Build it and they'll come, Kevin Costner.
Yes, I know.
Field of Dreams. I know you know.
I've just been a little bit mischievous there.
I know. But will selling Barcelona or Barça Studios, which is their in-house sort of production company, or 25% of it, their content production company, will that help at all?
Again, it's very short term. I mean, yes, it helps right now because you need to show La Liga that you've brought in X amount of money. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, which Andy was talking about selling those sort of 25% of the future rights. That was, as you said, one lever, and I think they've now pulled 4 economic levers, and another one of them is selling this share of the studios, and yes, in the short term it helps, But in the long term, that's all revenue you're not getting, because that's all revenue you're giving up as a share. With all of these things, they're retaining control. There's nothing they're selling more than 49% of, and that's very important because you still retain control of it. But it does feel to me, as someone who has never had to try to do this creative accounting that international level football clubs seem to do nowadays.
I never thought I'd hear that from an Italian.
Right. It feels like they're building a house on sand, doesn't it? It feels like they're building a house on a foundation of sand.
What I think is the most remarkable thing of this, well, two remarkable things. Firstly, Sergio Busquets has been asked to take a pay cut again. He's taken more than one pay cut since the start of all this to try and fit people on the wage bill.
Internship for Sergio Busquets.
Well, that's what Gerard Piqué reportedly offered this week. He said, "I'll play for nothing."
Yeah.
And how has it got to that point? You know, one of the best defenders in the world over the last 15 years has had to say, "I'll play for free."
I mean, I find that sort of dynamic quite interesting because, you know, to sort of jump sports just for a second, and apologies for everyone who will be annoyed about jumping sports, but one of the sort of most famous athletes of my lifetime is Tom Brady, who won the most Super Bowls of any quarterback in the NFL ever, and he never got paid like some of his peers did. Like, he always he was paid well. He was never paid badly, but he always was sort of saying, "I'll take a little bit less than, say, Peyton Manning or whoever else, because I want the money to go to the rest of the team, because you've got a salary cap." And so
it's
I
like
want
the
to have
Dwayne Wade
lots of guys around
discount at Miami. Exactly.
Right. And I think that sort of mindset fits at a club like Barcelona, who have this sort of mindset of, well, we just win, we just want to win. But yeah, that doesn't, as a greater strategy, it has flaws.